Hey everyone, welcome to Cool Chess. Is it hard for you to find the good strategy in chess? In a two-part video, I'm going to explain strategic thinking at the chessboard. To start, I'll give you a short theory intro, and then we'll see an attacking game. In part 2, we'll cover positional play, and then put them side by side, so you can decide which strategy is for you. First, let's take a look at this diagram. Here's how to build your chess game step by step. It's really important to understand that chess isn't just a bunch of moves. Before anything else, you've got to choose your path to victory. This choice becomes your chess strategy. Do you want to go for a direct attack on the king, or do you prefer to apply positional pressure and slowly build an advantage? Whatever you choose, you'll need to pick an opening that fits. Okay, you've played the opening and got a position on the board. Now it's time to make a plan. It's super important to always have a plan, because that's how you figure out your moves most effectively. When it comes to strategy, it's worth remembering that picking the right one depends on your opponent too. You've picked a good strategy if you feel comfortable in your position, but your opponent doesn't. In a previous video, I brought up the importance of psychology in chess. You really shouldn't underestimate it. Okay, theory time's over for now. Let's get to the good stuff. Let's see how the chess legends launch their attacks. Our teacher will be Garry Kasparov. He was perhaps the greatest chess player of the 20th century. In his game against Sergei Begin, Kasparov demonstrates how to build up an attack against the opponent's king. The game was played in 1978. The opening is the Queen's Gambit, the semi-Tarrasch variation, which is a big fight for the center from the very beginning. After a few developing moves, we've arrived at the first critical position. The next move shows you the real difference between a positional and an attacking approach. What would a real attacking player do in this position? Pawn to e5. Very interesting move. From a positional point of view, there are some problems with this move. We're giving black the important d5 square, and that advanced e5 pawn could become a bit weak in the future. Okay, but Kasparov wants to attack. To really understand this move, we need to think about the requirements for a successful attack on the opponent's king. The first one is the majority of the attacking pieces. It is super important. For a successful attack, we need to have more attacking pieces than our opponent has defenders. With this move, we not only opened the d3 bishop's diagonal, but also took control of the crucial f6 square, which would be a good place for a defender black knight. That single move not only launched our piece into attack, but also effectively blocked their piece from contributing to the defense. Okay, let's continue the game. Black retreats the bishop to e7 to reinforce the defense. He wants to control the g5 square because that can be very useful. For example, let's see what happens after the developing move bishop to d7. Now I have a challenge for you. Let's see if you can find the correct move in 5 seconds. And the move is bishop h7. The point is that after king h7, knight g5, king g8, and queen h5, black can't control the crucial h7 square, so checkmate is coming. This is a recurring tactical motif known as the Greek gift. It's incredibly useful to recognize combinations like this. For those unfamiliar with this motif, calculating this variation in just 5 seconds is really difficult. However, for those who know it and have used it before, 5 seconds is more than enough to find the right move. Okay, let's go back to the game. The next step for the successful attack is weakening the defender's pawn shield. As we saw earlier, the e5 pawn makes it tough for black to defend the h7 pawn, so Kasparov lines up his pieces with that in mind. Queen e2 is the first step of this plan. It's really important to always find the harmony between your pieces. Their smooth cooperation is key to your success. Black decides to move his knight to the great d5 square, which is a pretty logical idea. White needs to pull his bishop back, but that's no big deal. It won't stop us from carrying out our plan. Black is developing and we push the black knight back. Okay, black got his knight to the center. He can be happy about that, but to be honest, black would likely prefer his knight to be on f6, where it could defend his kingside. While black danced his minor pieces around, we completed our piece repositioning. Queen e4 is coming and we are threatening checkmate. Finally, white lined up his pieces so they'd all gang up on the weak h7 square, and black had no choice but to weaken his king's position with the g6 pawn move. And that's exactly what we wanted. Now the dark squares around black's king are seriously weakened, and we've got a sweet little spot for our bishop on h6. This setup of whites with the queen and bishop lined up is worth remembering. It's way more effective when the bishop's behind the queen, not in front, because together they threaten checkmate. Alright, so what's next? White's pieces are gathering for the attack, the king's position is weakened, but now what? That's not enough. We need to weaken the opponent's king position even further. Are our minor pieces doing their job? Then it's time for the pawns to join in. Our king's safe, so our h-pawn can happily go help the rest of the team. So h4 is coming. And here's where black went wrong. He knew he had to continue developing, but thought winning some time by attacking the unprotected b2 pawn with the move queen b6 was a good idea. Well, it wasn't. Bishop c6 would have been the best move instead. But Kasparov doesn't care about some b2 pawn when he's on the attack. Pawn to h5, our little h-pawn fears nothing. And here, black played f5, which wasn't the best idea. Even though he knew his pawn structure would weaken after the en passant capture, he thought it'd be worth it to grab the h5 pawn and reclaim the f6 square with his knight. Plus, he was hoping his d7 bishop would get into the game quickly. Black didn't quite see the position right, though. After knight takes f6, the queen goes to e1, which is a bit of a weird spot. Going to a light square wouldn't be ideal, because the d7 bishop could develop with tempo, and white needs to keep the e5 square for his knight. Black takes the h5 pawn, and the white knight takes its place. We can see how active white's minor pieces are. Finally, black's bishop gets in the game and targets white's rook, which is boxed in by its own queen. This doesn't bother white at all. His pieces are so well placed that it's pretty much guaranteed there's a combination waiting to happen. So it's your turn again. Can you find white's move in 5 seconds? Let's see it. The solution is bishop takes g6. Our pieces are attacking, the pawn shield is weakened, and now we've reached the final stage, the destruction of the defense. If black takes the bishop, queen e4 followed by queen g6 is mate. So black went knight f6, and then white's bishop continued its destruction with bishop h7. And in this position, black chose to resign the game, because checkmate is coming. For example, if the king takes h7, then the deadly queen b1 check follows, after which queen g6 arrives with overwhelming force. Did you like it? Attacking is exciting, but before you commit to attacking strategy, you should see our next video, because we will show you an example how the big attacker, Garry Kasparov, get defeated. Practically, he had no chance. So, I recommend you all to watch it. Subscribe not to miss it. Okay, thanks for being with me. I really hope that I will see you in my next video.